Let's talk turkey. Sure, I'm going to show you some Thanksgiving fails, but have you thought about Thanksgiving felonies? Hmm. I know we all love our desserts, apple pie, pumpkin pie, but have you thought about torts? Oh no, not the dessert. I'm talking about the private harm that has been and can be caused on Thanksgiving, resulting in multi-million dollar settlements. Let's do this. Let's start back in 1997 with a Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. I think that we need to take a look at this and see what went down. I think you might actually remember what happened here, but I want to show you. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen with you, um, so you can see what happened back in 1997.
Now, Eyewitness News.
Frightening moments during today's Thanksgiving Day parade. Eyewitness News has the exclusive videotape. A giant balloon crashes into a streetlight. One woman is in critical condition.
The giant cat-in-the-hat balloon had only traveled a couple of blocks when it was caught in this exclusive amateur videotape. High winds carrying it right into a lamppost at 72nd Street. Suddenly, it knocked off a large section of the light, which then fell into a crowd of people standing on the sidewalk.
Ooh.
Huge wind gust came down, hit that light post right on top, sprung a big leak. A big chunk about 4 feet long fell right down to the crowd.
First thing I did was cover my head and try to move out of the way, but it hit me on my foot.
As handlers struggled to bring the balloon under control, police and EMS rushed to help 4 people who were injured. 2 suffered head injuries. One woman is in serious condition. Mayor Giuliani met with the families of the 2 women, also doctors.
And obviously they're very distraught, and they're praying, and they're hoping that it turns out all right.
A statement released by Macy's said, "We are especially concerned about the 2 people that are still being held in the hospital."
I bet they really were concerned. And sorry for that jump scare with Giuliani there. Okay, so that was pretty serious. It wasn't just some, ha ha ha, a balloon fell. But that wasn't the end of it. No, it wasn't thoughts and prayers and statements, right? There had to be more that happened. And of course, there was a legal settlement. The woman who was hurt in that parade, let's take a look at what happened. It took several years. It took 4 years for Macy's to enter into a settlement with her. So here we go. Let's take a look at this Thanksgiving fail. It's not a felony, but it is a tort. So this woman who was hurt in 97 in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, right? That would have been October of 97. It took until almost 3.5 years, until March of 2021. We can view this on the Times machine to see the original here. You can see this. Woman hurt in 97, Macy's parade settles lawsuit. Okay, there is the original. And let's take a look here. A woman who was severely injured when a balloon swept out of control at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade in 1997 has reached a settlement with the department store, the city, and a city contractor, ending a lawsuit that has lingered for nearly 3 years. The woman, Kathleen Corona, was in a coma for 24 days after the accident during the nationally televised parade. She was injured after a 6-story tall cat in the hat, we saw that, balloon caught in winds that gusted at more than 40 miles per hour struck a light pole at 72nd Street in Central Park West, causing the pole's horizontal arm to break off and showering debris on the parade goers. Okay, I'm not trying to ruin your Thanksgiving. You're still listening. Do you want to hear more Thanksgiving fails? I think that you might. Okay, so let's talk about something else. Let's talk about our standard, and we're going to get to the not standard. Let's talk about our standard Thanksgiving fail of somebody. anybody, everybody, I don't know. It seems like every year someone decides that the best turkey is a deep fried turkey. And I've heard, I don't eat turkey, but I've heard it's absolutely delicious if you deep fry it. The problem is, if you're deep frying a turkey, it needs to be entirely defrosted before it is dropped in the boiling oil, number one. Number two, boiling oil must be boiling outside and not in any kind of covering or garage or porch area. Thirdly, it's flippin' hot boiling oil. Okay? Not safe. Not safe at any speed, as Ralph Nader used to say about General Motors cars back in the day when auto safety was not a priority. Okie dokie. So let's take a look at some of these things that happen, just as a cautionary tale, just in case you have a crazy relative who's like, hey, why don't we fry the turkey? And they just decide to take that frozen turkey that they got at work or they just picked up at Costco. It might not thaw in time for tomorrow. Don't look at me. I don't know. I'm not telling you how to deep fry a turkey. I'm telling you don't do it. And if someone else is doing it, don't let them do it at your house unless you have enough insurance. I'm sure there are turkey lawsuits also. So let's go ahead. And share with you at least one of these warning videos around don't drop a frozen turkey in hot boiling oil. I think that you might already know that. Okay, let's take a look.
Now, if you plan on deep frying your turkey, there is a warning that things can go very wrong, as you see very quickly.
It is officially that time of year when America deep fries frozen bowling balls and wonders why their house catches on fire.
As you can see here, we're going to be showing you what could go wrong with a turkey fryer. It's lit on fire. It's important to have a fire extinguisher nearby.
If you don't do this correctly, the frozen turkey, the water in the frozen turkey will react with the oil, and the oil will not only levy over the side of the pot, but it will catch on fire.
Not a small oops, a mini explosion.
Remember to put out a grease fire by covering it with a lid and then call 911.
If it's frozen, this is what it'll do. Turn into a backyard rocket launch.
Your own Thanksgiving meal. Here's a very visible warning for you. Rural Metro Fire shows exactly how deep frying a turkey can go wrong.
He pulled the pin. He's going to aim. He's going to squeeze and then sweep at the base to make sure that he gets all that fire out.
Yeah, I know. My husband's going to be deep frying a turkey, so.
Put it outside.
Yes, he knows the proper way.
You also want to cook it between 325 and 350 degrees. Firefighters say stand back to reduce any kind of risk of burning.
The fire started in the garage where someone was trying to deep fry a turkey. Firefighters busy on this Thanksgiving responding to this fire at a duplex on Rye Way in Carmichael.
And now a duplex is gone because someone couldn't resist deep frying in a garage. Please leave the garage out of this. But yes, fried turkey is delicious, but so is not calling 911 on Thanksgiving. So if you're gonna fry one, thaw it, measure the oil, take it outside, and keep a fire extinguisher nearby. Let's make sure that we're cooking with confidence and not too much chaos.
I think that is always a good idea to cook with confidence and not too much chaos, which brings us to, I think I talked to the previous year with you about this, but I've never given the evidence. The cheese quake disaster. Yes, my friends. So I'm going to show you what you're going to look at now is this. One year, I decided I wanted to do something pumpkin related as a dessert. And I am a baker. I mean, not professionally, but I'm more of a baker than a cook, although I'm upping my cooking game. By the way, I made this delicious pearl couscous. The pearl couscous, it looks like tiny little pearls. Pearl couscous, kind of, I don't know, is it a salad, a warm salad with roasted butternut squash, some spinach mixed in, some tart cherries, some roasted pecans, and spiced it up with a little Cajun seasoning plus garam masala. Oh my God, it was delicious. Okay, but That's kind of, I do that kind of thing, like one dish at a time. So let me tell you about this. I want to make this pumpkin cheesecake. And it required the thing with cheesecakes. And by the way, yes, you have to bake them. I know that people might not think that you do, but you do. So this was a pumpkin cheesecake that was basically essentially a cheesecake recipe, but then you had that kind of canned pumpkin you would swirl in and make a nice looking cheesecake. But the thing with a good cheesecake is, I don't know, you have to bake it. So this cheesecake, this had to go in a spring pan. Let me show you. So this is, you've seen metal spring pans, and the point of this is that when you are done baking, you have a nice plate underneath, right? Sometimes it's metal, but this is a ceramic plate, right? So that when you take off, let me show you what you put on the outside. You have this around it, right? So it's kind of like a pan, like a little pie pan, right? You see this. But then when you open it up after you've baked it, you just have this, in theory, this cheesecake. Well, let me show you. This is what this spring pan looks like when it's connected, right? And this is a silicone spring pan. So silicone's a great material to use when you are baking. But this is how it works. Any spring pan has to attach. And this one has this kind of pin. Let me pull this pin out so you can kind of see this, right? And here is this, the side of it when it's open. So that makes it really easy to open it up after you have baked and you're ready to serve. Well, the deal is, before you make the cheesecake, you're supposed to attach this, right? And it's not the easiest thing to attach, but it's pretty basic. It's like this little block, right? And then let me just show you. At the very top, you can see you're supposed to put, let me just show you. At the top, there are 2 holes in which you are supposed to put, I think I need to show you this up close. It's sort of hard, but you can see right on this side, right? You can see that there are these two holes. Is that where they are? Oh, right. And the thing is, though, the 2 holes, when you put this cover on it, there they are. One is larger than the other. Well, your dear friend, me, when I put the pin in it, instead of putting it into both holes like this, as it should be, like that, I didn't really understand that that second hole was really a hole. See that little guy? And so I think I just kind of did something like that, right? And that seems fine to me. Looks like it's attached. And that looks nice, right? Until a person like me decides to take this out of the oven. And I decided to take it out of the oven for whatever reason, because pulling it out, I decided to take it out like this, holding it on its side, right? With oven mitts and so on. But the problem was, because I had not put it in the second hole, this whole thing let go and, of course, detached from the plate, and it crashed down. Now, the good news is it ended up crashing down right as I was putting it on the stove to cool from the oven. And as a result, and by the way, in this particular kitchen I was using, the oven was sort of across the kitchen floor from the stove. Don't ask me why. It's just the way it is. So I was carrying it across when it started to slip, and some of that cheesecake fell on the floor. Most of it ended up on the stove. Now, some of it, of course, was still on the plate, and it was the most delicious dessert. That said, and I do believe it's been maybe 15 years since I made it. I have never repeated that mistake or even made a cheesecake. Yes, I've experimented with the small little cheesecakes, individual cheesecakes. And anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but maybe I should next year, not this year. My daughter Emily is making a apple pie, but next year I'm going to revisit the pumpkin cheesecake, which we call the cheesequake. Yes, we were in hysterics about that, especially because we found out that there is a town, maybe in New Jersey, that is called Chesapeake. I don't know. We kept calling it Cheesecake, New Jersey, or maybe it was Pennsylvania. I don't know. Okay, let's move on. There are more troubles with turkeys. Now we've seen the Thanksgiving parade, right? We've seen that fail. We've also, you also have heard about now a disaster, not a terrible disaster involving my cheesecake, but there are other problems with turkeys, other turkey torts and disasters. Now, no, I'm not going to talk about how, again, even though I mentioned yesterday, how my mother made us a turkey when I was like 3 or 4 years old, and the oven did not cook it all the way through. Back then, I don't think that people used thermometers to measure the heat inside of the bird as much as they do now. But she obviously defrosted and baked this turkey for as long as they said, and it looked good on the outside. And then we ate, and within, I don't know, a couple hours, we were all projectile. My brother and I, my mom and my dad. Luckily, my father was a doctor and he could help us with that situation. But it was, I think, one of the last times my mother made a turkey in that oven. Come to find out, though, that it definitely was the oven, because when she made a birthday cake for me shortly after that, it kind of collapsed in the center. Let's just blame the oven and my mother, not my mother's cooking. My mother did occasionally make food, but for most part, when we had family events, she just brought the food in. If my mother was having a brunch, she would have brought in the bagels, the lox. She would have sliced up the tomatoes herself, not thin, big hockey pucks of tomatoes. Mom, they could have been thinner, but you get the idea. It was delicious, and she did not cook for people outside the family after that, out of fear of food poisoning. But let's talk turkey a little more. There's been a lot of talk about how prices are going up because of the tariffs. But as you know, the turkeys are homegrown. And let's talk about why turkey prices, people are saying turkey prices have gone down. Why is no one talking about the litigation behind that? I would like to know, because I think you might be shocked to learn what I learned, which is Cargill. I'm sure you've heard of this giant private company, Cargill. Just reached in January of this year a $32 million settlement in a turkey price fixing lawsuit. So they weren't the only party price fixing. Obviously, it's not price fixing if you don't have a competitor, but it was Tyson Foods had already agreed to pay $4.62 million in the case. What the accusations were is that these meat packers colluded to drive up consumer prices. And there is a photo here of Cargill's Meat Solutions plant. And this was a case that was brought in the U.S. District for the Northern District of Illinois. At the time, it still needed to be approved by the court, but this was a lawsuit against Cargill and Tyson, plus Butterball LLC and Purdue Farms, for coordinating to intentionally reduce turkey supply and raise consumer prices. Now, this was not a lawsuit brought by the government. This was a class action lawsuit that was filed back in 2019 that claimed that the nation's largest, and I'm reading this to you, turkey producers illegally increased prices in a scheme that cost consumers millions of dollars. Now, this class action lawsuit was, let me back up. The other people who were accused was Boar's Head and Jenny O. Anyway, so let's just look at this. This was it was brought by this class action. The lead plaintiffs back in 2019 were Olean Wholesale Grocery Cooperative and John Gross and Company. And you can see there was every single turkey producer. There was Butterball, Cargill. We've got Foster Farms, Hormel, Kraft, Tyson, and so on. And let me just share a little bit more. These plaintiffs were bringing this. This was a class of people who purchased turkey directly from these producers. And this is a price fixing scheme that they came up with. And let me just point out too, because it was a private cause of action, it just involved a settlement, right? It was the buyers of the turkeys. I mean, the stores that did this, not us, because we don't directly purchase from the meat packers. But I got to ask you, why don't we hear more in the news about this? I think it's because antitrust, the words like antitrust or Sherman Act or price fixing, those make your eyes glaze over. But what if we talk about grifting? What if we called it cheating consumers? That some big businesses are cheating consumers by agreeing in smoke filled rooms or the equivalent to artificially raise prices. What about that? That's how we should talk about it. Okay, guys. Now, my last thing to tell you, and this is a little bit of crazy town. So let's get some of our craziest music. Are you ready? Drum roll. If you have legal trouble over Thanksgiving, especially if you are in Michigan, you know what you can do? I think you know. You can call Sam, right? You can actually call Sam. And when I say call Sam, who am I talking about? I'm talking about Sam Bernstein's law office. And this photo here for 1-800-CALL-SAM, on the left is Mark Bernstein, Sam's son. On the right is his daughter, whose name I don't remember. But let me tell you something about Sam's Bernstein's law office and something about Sam. You have seen these billboards all over Michigan. I know you have. And I want to let you know that this is my family. Yes, Thanksgiving is a time that you should be spending with family. It's Beth Bernstein Miller. This is where you should be spending time with family. And guess what? For me, if I have any legal trouble, I am not kidding you. If I have any legal trouble, I will do what I am told to do, which is call Sam. I will call Sam. Now, Sam is married to one of my mother's cousins. So I'm actually related, though, to this guy, Mark Bernstein. Yes, I am. So it's funny. It's crazy that whenever I drive around the Detroit area, I see family. But I want you to know, if you are in Michigan, and maybe not, maybe you can call Sam from any state and they will refer you to a lawyer in your state. If you have turkey problems, if you are burned by a turkey, or if you have a large balloon fall on you and such, 1-800-CALL-SAM. See you on Friday.